Hey, I'm Al Corlin. Thanks very much for joining me. We are at the Cambridge House International Investment Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia. Love coming to these conferences, and you know why? Because we run into people who are regular guests on the radio show, but we're able here to do videos, and that way you can put faces to names and get more of an appreciation of what these guys are all about. I'm starting out, our first interview, video interview at the show is with David Morgan. David's an old friend. He is someone who I have known for, I mean, it's almost embarrassing, 20 years or thereabouts, ever since David started. I have learned more from David Morgan in the area of silver than I've learned from anybody whatsoever. We collaborate a lot. Basically, it really isn't collaborating. It's like, it gives me the ability to sit in class and learn from the best, and so that's what we're going to do right now. Dave, in terms of 2012, silver closed a couple of days ago, Friday, the 20th, if I'm not mistaken, at a little over $30, $31.50 an ounce or thereabouts, okay? I'm personally thinking that 2012 will be a good year for the metals, and I've got my reasons for saying that. What does the silver guru have to say?
Well, a couple things. One is that when silver started the open in 2012, it was up 6%. It was the biggest one-day up move in silver in about 3 years. Secondly, what you just referred to, Al, we had about a $2 move, just 7 cents under a $2 move last week. Part of that's attributed to Eric Sprott, PSLV, the precious metals silver only fund that is in physical. He bought approximately 9 million ounces of physical off the market. And as far as I'm concerned, that was largely responsible for a $2 price move in 1 week's time. So I'm bullish on silver. If you go back and look at my website a while back, I said, why am I still so bullish on silver? And I was looking at a 10-year price projection based upon the industrial and investment demand. I've recently changed the website. I keep the same video on there, which talks about the factors going forward. But for 2012, a broad trading range, a new base, and moving up into new high territory. I really believe that silver and gold will hit new nominal highs in 2012.
So you're suggesting that we may have 50 bucks or better for silver in 2012. You're suggesting 2,000 or better for gold. Dave, I have to tell you, I agree with you 100%. And the main reason I agree with you is because economically, the world is just too crazy. People are scared. They don't know where to invest. You know, there's going to be probably a bit of a euphoria, people going into the US dollar because it's the best of the worst. But I think the serious investors are saying they're going to follow the Chinese. Let's buy more precious metals.
I agree. What we see is the accumulation phase continues. Most nation states that have bought gold are going to hold it. They are not going to sell it in this environment. Central bankers have become net buyers in the last couple of years. So any additional buying is going to drive the price up over time. The reason being, again, is that most precious metals buyers hold what they have already purchased and continue to accumulate. So any new buyers that come into the market has got a smaller pool to invest in. Think about that. Even if things go in a deflationary scare, which is my term I've been using for a while now, they still seek safety and confidence. There isn't a trust issue with silver and gold. You don't have to trust them. They are what they are, and they've been money for thousands of years. That idea will continue to populate the world's population, if you will, and they will come and gravitate regardless of inflation or deflation into the precious metals. I do think, I hope and believe strongly that I will be proven correct that we're going to see new nominal highs in both those markets this year.
You know, I'll tell you something interesting. Kathy and I went to a workshop up at our church a couple of weeks ago, and the fellow giving the workshop brought up the issue of why is gold used so much in the various churches. And he said, well, number one, because it's, you know, it doesn't rust, and number two, it's very, very durable, etc. But then he said, and he looked right at me because he knows what I do for a living, and he said, what does gold mean, Mr. Corlin? And I stuttered a little bit and said, well, I'm not really sure. I mean, it's, here's the symbol is AU, blah, blah, blah. And he said, you're missing the whole point. From day one, gold has been synonymous with eternity.
Very good. And I've got one that's a little punchline on that. Took it from Jim Dine, so I'll give him credit.
See him in church every Sunday,
But this will be good. Another follow-up answer for that same question. Gold is God with an L in it.
You know what? And that is so true. That is so very, very true. Let's talk a little bit about silver. What's going to drive silver up in 2012?
Higher gold prices. Well, lots of reasons. I mean, the industrial demand may be waning slightly, but that means that the base metal producers are going down. So it's a self-regulating mechanism. There'll be more investment demand primarily.
Are the, or I guess I want to say, is the disconnect between, in your mind, share prices of the companies involved in the industry and the commodity prices, you think that disconnect is going to become less and less obvious here in 2012?
I know it will over time, and I think it will probably this year. I really believe this is the time to, if you have your precious metals base, to get into the equities. The equities are so undervalued. It's screaming a buy, and that doesn't mean you have to load up this instant. What it means is you should accumulate and plan to accumulate over the next several months, I would say. But once you've done that, I think 2, 3, 4 years out from now, you are going to be bragging about how well you've done in the resource sector by buying the underlying equities.
You know, I agree 100%. It's interesting, and we've got a pretty active blog associated with our radio show. 1,250,000 in the last 9 months have come to it and commented. There's a lot of people, and all of them are saying, you know, Cortland, you and your guests are saying the same thing not all of them. A minority of them are saying, Cortland, you and your guests are saying the same thing every week. You're saying that bottom of the market is here in the resource sector, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't seen that, and we think you're nuts. Well, my response is, okay, you know, it's a free country. We have free speech. You can say whatever you want. But the fundamentals are just there. It's a matter of time. And you're going to see 5, 10-fold increases, in my opinion, in a lot in the quality stocks, Dave.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot at this show. And I agree, there will be some real, you know, long ball hitters in here. But even in the more conservative companies that already have not much room to grow, you're still going to see significant increases. And I'd say, Al, even on those type of situations, a double or a triple from here. Remember, a double or triple over a 3 or 4 year time frame, when the general economy is contracting, is a huge, huge win.
Well, you know, to elaborate just a little bit, David, on what you're saying, I had a comment just this past week, and the fellow was saying, you know, he said, look at the price of conventional stocks, and then look at the resource sector, and he said, you're totally wrong, and the numbers prove that you're wrong. And I responded, and I said, I'm not really sure where you're getting your numbers. You know, I don't recall exactly what the S&P was up or down, but it was somewhere around 12, 13% last year, if I'm not mistaken. Well, gold was up 18% last year. What's wrong with that? Yeah. And it's up, in my opinion, for all of the fundamentally correct reasons.
Exactly, and we've already reviewed those, so I'll come back to you.
Back to me. Tell us a little bit about the newsletter. Everybody knows about it, but let's do it one more time.
All right, real quick. Silverinvestor.com, themorganreport.com. I give a free informational overview weekly, but the member-only site is based on 3 levels of service: the basic plus, which is a look over my shoulder when I do trading, which I do, and also a lot of videos like this that we do for members only. And lastly, we have an advanced service that's one on many. It's me with sometimes the CEO, sometimes an Eric Sprott, sometimes a Nick Beresheff. I have special guests on, Mike Maloney, that my members get to actually interface with and ask questions to. So 3 levels for members only. Check it out. It is for serious investors. We're pretty serious about what we do, and we have been from the get-go, as you well know.
Oh, you very definitely have been from the get-go. Final thought is this. In my keynote speech, which I just finished giving here about 45 minutes ago, I said, in terms of how does Al Cortland invest, Al Cortland gets all the information from as many sources as he possibly can. Let me tell you, Silver Investor is one of the better ones. David, thanks, buddy.
My pleasure. Thank you, Al.